Hello, everybody. Hey, it's Ken Faulkner, and I'm moving on to the next video on the Faulkner 5 for this week. We got that Riot PLXE. Yes, I have it right. I know the name, but I always question myself, especially when it's not like a name. PL-XE. Man, just this Faulkner 5 thing never ceases to amaze me. Um, you know, getting to know knives is really a great thing. For those of you that have knives that you specifically carry most of the time, I think maybe you don't even quite appreciate it. I don't know, but you definitely get to know that knife. Um, and it's just that stark contrast for me of going knife to knife to knife to knife, and just not being able to get into that relationship. Have something a little bit more of a deeper understanding of the specific knife. That disassembly was freaking awesome. I really enjoyed it. Going back actually, and I going through it, I was kind of like nervous and hoping that the whole thing wasn't going to go south, but I didn't get in as deep as I really should have. Looking back at it, and that's true about a lot of my videos. It's still a work in progress, guys. I'm working on trying to figure out how to do these. This is the cut test video, and clearly last one didn't go as expected. I expect this one to be a little bit more successful, I guess. I don't know. It's not really success because you're testing it and you're just seeing what's going on with it. But anyway, when I took it apart and put it back together, for one thing, the action is fabulous. It's just it's different slightly. I don't know necessarily that it's better. I think the grease had a different kind of feel in the action. Now it kind of drops a little bit faster, but you get a little more pop out. I think the grease give it a little bit more. So I might get, like I said, I think Slicker Mall is a little more of a greasy kind of lube rather than a very smooth like that blue lube is. It might be nice to try that out, but I got so much more confidence in taking apart this knife after doing that disassembly, which is great. This is excellent. And actually, I'm feeling more excited about doing more as we go through the Faulkner 5. This is only number 2 of the Faulkner 5. But we are getting close to the end of the week, and we're going to get back to a new one starting on Monday. So anyway, that's where we are, and we're up to the cut test. This one has been sharp from the get-go, and I was a little bit more sensitive to it after last time. The edge on it after the test, I realized during the test that it wasn't performing like I'd expected to. And after the test, I definitely noticed that it wasn't really cutting as well as I normally would like a knife to cut, and that kind of made me come to the realization I have to be a little bit more on that. On top of that kind of thing. This time I was more on top of it. Now I haven't sharpened it per se. It's been sharp all week. I was watching Bees' live from Canada last night. If you're not watching it on the day that I upload this, Bees was in Canada, and he had a late night one, and I was stropping it, and I don't consider stropping it as like sharpening really. It's just kind of just cleaning it up. It's almost like getting some alcohol and cleaning it, or putting a little lube on it or whatever, without maybe disassembling. It's like a maintenance type of thing, and I just felt like I need to do more of that and just being aware of where it's sitting. And this one is, for one thing, it's got that geometry. Geometry is super important. The blade steel on this is Nitro V. And I think that a lot of people would say it's a good steel, and other people would say it's not a spectacular steel. It's not like the most amazing steel around, but I think it's a good steel. And the funny thing is that, I think that as I get more into sharpening and be more aware of that kind of stuff, I will start to be like some of the people that I have just great appreciation for, a little better understanding of the steel. Sharpening it, seeing how it dulls, sharpening it, that kind of thing, going through that cycle. Because really, the steel is there for performing in some way or another. I mean, being that it's corrosion resistant. I generally don't have a big problem with that, but if I do, it may make me more aware of it and make me want to be more careful about oiling my knives and things like that. I do it, but not maybe as much as other people do. But also the cutting, the edge retention, toughness. My days of going out camping, multiple times per year are pretty much over. The kids are all grown, and you know, myself, my girlfriend, we're older. I mean, we try to stay active, but we're not really doing that kind of thing. We more are in line of looking at going glamping, if you know what I'm talking about. I think you know what I'm talking about. So anyway, so I don't know if that's going to be so much of a thing unless I do these kind of tests more often. Then you're going to see it. But anyway, I'm talking a lot as usual, and let's get into it. One of the things that I did with this knife just earlier today is one of the most important things that you can do with a knife. Open up a package, but not just any package. I opened up a knife package. I got a knife back that I had loaned out, and also one that I had purchased. Now, I feel, and I'll make my explanation. You can tell me if I'm if I'm breaking the rule or not. But rules are made to be broken. I'll explain to that whole thing once I get to show it to you, because I am excited about showing you this knife coming up. But anyway, also this week I bought something else, but it's not a knife. It's something that I realized that, look at that, how well that cut. Realized it was something that I had in the cutting box. I have a box of cutting materials that I don't have anymore. I must have probably moved it to something else. So I went ahead and picked up some of these guys. And so we're going to cut open a box. So that's going to be our first cutting of the of this video, and it is performing quite well. And there they are. They are zip ties. Now these are not the most heavy duty zip ties. I just went kind of cheap. I am really trying to save money, not spending on things that I might normally spend on this week and this month. I mean, get ready for the show, because I am looking at knives. There's some that I'm really seeing that I'm interested in getting to. Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit more towards when the show actually happens on the 9th and 10th of October. So people that know, who cut zip ties, know that it is plastic and therefore not that hard to cut, but it can have an impact on your edge. So it is something that's good, and people have used it historically. People that know more about cut tests than me have used it historically to test an edge, and to just to make sure it's not going to chip or something. And people have had situations where they've actually chipped a knife on a zip tie. So I figured I'd get some zip ties and do some cuts on it as I'm trying to learn how to get better at doing these kind of testings. So normally you'd have it wrapped around something and tie it off like this, right? And it might be tight around it, or it might have enough room just to get in there and cut it. That worked pretty well. I mean, that's really what you're looking for. A lot of my experience with zip ties was at Christmas time on kids' toys. It's been a while since I've gotten toys for my kids, but man, I noticed over the years that they started to zip tie the heck out of those things, and they were just like all over having things zip tied to the packaging. And I don't know if because too many things get stolen or what the deal is, but yeah, it was quite fun. And so you can see this is really making pretty easy work of it. Kind of hard to compare this to like the Chavez from last week, because I didn't have the zip ties at that point. So we'll move on to some of the other cutting that we were doing last week and see how we do. There's the classic, this is always fun to clean up after, the classic paper, right? So I'm still working through that 2020 catalog of Spydercos. We're at the Chaparral and the Centofonte, which I'm guessing is an Italian knife, and kind of has that Italian look to it. Could be wrong. Does it say here? Nope. Origin Japan. The Centofonte. Is that Japanese? It doesn't seem like it is. Anyway, so yeah, so many knives. I'm still learning about new Spyderco knives. Speaking of Spyderco, like the Chaparral here, you can tell has that tall flat, whereas this one's got more of a hollow, it looks like. That tall flat is really what, from the beginning of my Spyderco collecting, is what I really appreciated about Spyderco. I think already we are seeing that we are getting better cutting performance out of this blade. And I'm sure some of it has to do with sharpening or the geometry of the blade. This whole primary bevel here is very tall, and it just gradually goes up. It's got a nice stone wash on it. It's a little bit of flat, just the tiniest little bit of flat up there, but for all intents and purposes, it's a full flat grind. Not hollow, but flat. And we did the measurements on it. It's fairly thin blade, but certainly watching and listening, you can tell a little bit about how it cuts. I see other people cutting paper, different techniques that they use, but when it's quiet like that, that's what I'm most impressed with. I really enjoy cutting different materials, and this makes this kind of fun because I don't really do a ton of it. A little bit of paper cutting, but it's kind of fun to actually get into it and compare it to other knives and things like that. But I would say that so far, this Riot PLXE-XE is performing quite well, and we'll continue into it. I got that cardboard box that I started cutting over here, and I'm just going to take a little piece of it. And I'm still not as in depth of a cut tester as some of the people. Duty Daggers. I don't want to start mentioning names, but the ones I'm talking about: Stasa, Neves knives, and there's more. There's more out there, but anyway, you can kind of see. I know Casey loves to do knives fast. He loves to cut cardboard more than paper. And you can really see, and this is the same box as I used with the Chavez, and you can see even on the end here on the side where it's kind of got some tape on it and things like that, and it's a little less like a clean edge. Like here, you can see it's kind of bent. Let's see how it does with that. And I mentioned that. See how it goes right in. It's quite good. Now, to be fair, the Chavez did much better. I almost want to do another cut test. Maybe at some point I will, after the fact. See, we're already getting schmutz on the blade. It's always a good sign, right? Anyway, I like to go through the cut test again sometime because, and I've cut some stuff with it, but after the sharpening that I did the video with the sharpening, and I will do a sharpening video with this one, I think that I am really going to start at like a higher grit with this one, because it just doesn't seem like it really needs any crude sharpening, and because it's not really at the point where I mean this is definitely cutting hairs. I don't really need to do a lot of that, but some people will use that for their cut test. Definitely cutting hairs, even with schmutz on it. And I haven't done the sharpening portion yet, so it's just pretty significant. I don't think I've actually put this one on a sharpener. I have stropped it, like I said, but I haven't actually done a full sharpening on this one. So it is just hanging in there. Nitro V. It could be, how they do their heat treat. It could be geometry being part of it. Certainly. Yeah, certainly there's a different factors. Those people that are really into steel will let you know that it's not just necessarily about the steel composition itself, but all those other factors, heat treat and geometry are very important. Let's get into some more stuff here. Hey, this is one I didn't do last time. I broke this out. I thought it was going to be fun. And then because of all of the way it went, do you know what that is? I got this a while back when I was doing some cutting and I wanted to cut. And I know that, people will use these for actually for cutting with swords. It kind of like those tatami mats, which are going to be more expensive to do. But this is a pool noodle. And so it's fun. I've never cut a pool noodle before, so we'll see what happens. I'm going to have to let the cat out of the room. I will be right back. Sorry about that. Good thing about that is cat came in from outside and had the door open for him to come in and out. Now I got the neighborhood dogs muffled a little bit, and the cat's back in the room with the girlfriend, and they're hanging out. So anyway, where was I? I was about to cut a noodle. So excited. So I've never cut one of these before, so I don't know what to expect. Let's see how it cuts. Ooh, it cuts really well. I don't know if it's easy or hard to cut these things. I know that they, like I said, they're basically doing swings at it and chopping it. Now you can see a little bit of tearing there, and that may be a sign of something. But it's going to take some time of cutting with different knives and different materials to see, if that's a really clean cut and that's, what you want, or if it's any sign that that it's not cutting that well. Look at how clean that one is. So we're going to leave it at that one. So we got 4 pancakes of pool noodle. And yeah, it seemed to cut it really well. Not scientific at all. Ooh, you hear the pop? And I don't know how hard this material would normally be on a knife edge. So like I said, experts and professionals would be able to tell you that stuff, not me. What else we got? We got the jeans. So we're doing the jeans, so we put in the pocket to see how the clip is. Deep carry goes in nice and easy. Pretty much disappears. Pretty much totally disappears. Seems like it could come out if you're like doing flips and stuff like that. I don't do a lot of that, so I don't really see that as a problem. But so the retention may not be, as good as some people need. But let's get here, and we're gonna cut through the seam. There you go. Cut pretty easily. Felt pretty good. Let's roll up a little bit. How about that? We'll cut this piece like this. I know it's kind of unwieldy because it's a big old piece. I guess when I get down to more smaller pieces, this will work out better. All right. We're sawing a little bit here. Because there are different kinds of cuts that you're going to do. Another part of doing these kind of videos is learning how to keep the knife on camera. Because when I went back and looked at the this assembly, and that was something I did specifically because I wanted to find out. It feels so much on this knife like it has a detent. And I went back and looked at it. I don't know if any of you guys noticed when I did it, but at the bottom, we're almost there, guys. Now, we got something a lot more easy to handle. At the bottom on this side, when I took it all apart, there was that piece that stuck out, and that was clearly what locks into place here. That's keeping the blade. So somehow it pulls up, and it has to do with this button, because when you push it down, you push it out of the way. But also, I seem to remember, I went back on the video, there's a detent ball in the middle of that thing. And if you looked at the blade when I was doing the stuff, if you weren't paying attention like I wasn't, You wouldn't notice it, but there's like a detent hole, just like you have in a frame or a liner lock, in that round part of the blade that was inside of that big old huge round bearing. If you haven't seen the video, you can go back if you want, if you're interested. So what am I going to do? I'm going to kind of roll this one up and get multi-layers and try to do some cuts. And look at that, nice and clean. Very nice. And, you know, obviously as I do this more, I'll get better at it. So it seems to do quite well. If I'm taking the jean material, this is not too thin. Maybe not the thickest, but not too thin. If I get this, trying not to cut myself, material, and then just try to cut it like this, look at that, went all the way through. So this thing is really cutting the jeans very well. We got the rope. Let's get into the rope. So like I say, this thing clearly, and this is what I just love knife makers that are doing this stuff. They got this button action, and they're getting some detent action into it. So it's like the top liner locks. They're getting a detent action, and it's what's really helping. I don't know if you feel it. I know I've heard people comment about it. The difference between like a Axis crossbar lock and like a frame lock or a liner lock is the snappiness at the deployment. And since I do love middle finger flick, and that's my main way that I open knives, that's where I'm really seeing it. I think when you have like a back flipper, you don't see it as much. Maybe even a top flipper, you don't feel it as much. But I definitely feel it, and I'm super happy when a knife company will design a button lock system like this and figure out a way to get a detent in there, and they seem to have done it. And it's kind of like the button lock, because it's not like a plunge lock. It's depressing that little tab that has the detent ball in it down to get it out of the way so that it'll drop. So you got that swing action, that very satisfying swing action with the detent ball, which is just great. It's like the best of both worlds. Yeah, see, I mean, look at what's going on here. If you remember, I mean, if you're really curious, you can always go back and look at the other video. But man, this thing is cutting. It is just so much better. And I hate to put down this Chavez. It's more a put down on myself, I believe. We'll see over time. Like I said, I did sharpen it, and yes, most steels you can sharpen, but the question is, how long does it hold? And I haven't, because I'm carrying this one all week. I've carried the Chavez a little bit and cut with it, and so I haven't seen any problem with it yet. But I haven't spent enough time with it since I'm busy with this. This is, you know, I can't take away from Faulkner 5 number 2 just to go back and watch Faulkner 5 number 1 and see how it performs. But over time, we'll see. We'll keep an eye on it. I always, every time I carry that knife, I will think about that cut test, because, you know, it impacted me big time. And so, and that's good. It's a good thing. It just helped me learn. You know, life is like that. So the rope test, much better. Here's the dreaded one. Well, we got the paracord. I don't think I really need to do the paracord. Let's do the dreaded one. Do you know what well, we'll do the leather belt real quick. So I can find the one that I was cutting last time. This is the one. Leather belt real quick. We are getting almost to the 30-minute mark because I've been talking so much. So these kind of cuts, really nice. Cutting down on the material. Wow, look at that. Wow. Just wow. That's one of the fun things about cutting, is that you get that immediate response to the sharp edge. Yeah, definitely I've been meaning to do a video talking about that kind of stuff. It means a lot to me. It's really a big part of knife collecting to me, is the cutting. That's why I don't save Queen. Now here's the dreaded. Remember this guy? The cable. I was just struggling to get through that with the Chavez. Now this is likely to do some dulling on the blade. You know, I haven't seen this thing getting less sharp over time, but it's likely to be something that would cause some dulling. So we'll see how it goes. And I am interested. Look at that. We had nothing like that with the Chavez. Now, granted, the Chavez is not. When you look at the sharpening, the profile of the knife, it's not really made to be slicey. It's made to be more tough, I think, because it had it's got a flat on it, but it's not a full flat. And now you can see that this is a test, and I don't know if that means that it's starting to get dull. We'll cut some paper at the end, or if it's just that this is such a tough cord to go through. I mean, we're talking about lots of material here. Let's cut this open and we'll take a look at what's inside. Hopefully not cut me open. So we got an insulator on the outside. That's obvious that we're going to have that on any wire because you don't want the electricity to get out, right? So we're keeping it in there. Shielded. Now this has to do with signal wires and stuff like that. You need to shield it from outside radiation and different things that can affect when you're trying to read electrical signal, like from something that's measuring something. It can be very sensitive, and the electrical current going through here is going to show the reading, and if you don't have it shielded, sometimes the outside forces can actually affect it. I'm not an electrical engineer, so I can't really give you all that, but I have some knowledge of that. So anyway, that shielding is like braided metal, right? So that's not something you're going to cut every day. And it's not something that's going to be easy to cut. Get into this. I'm really going to have a cleanup on this one. Underneath it, it's got like a foil. So there's the braiding underneath and then like a foil. And all of this is being used to protect the wires and the signal inside of the wires. I think this was printer cable or something. Look at all those little teeny wires. Woohoo! Look at all those suckers. So this is multi-conductor wire. So there's a whole bunch of different wires, and each one, if you look at the connector on the end of it, it has all these pins. Each one of these wires connects up to a certain pin. So this is a computer cable, and they're sending different things through these different wires. Look at all those guys. And each one of these inside is going to have, I don't know about that one. It's going to have a small little piece of copper. It's got to have something that conducts the electricity. So it's a tiny little wire inside there. You can't even really see it. It's not like something you can really strip away because there's so many of them and they're so small. But that's computers, right? Everything on a computer is so small. Don't know if I can strip this one without just cutting away the whole thing. There's a little bit of reflection there. So you kind of see the metal on the inside. I don't know if that's copper. Normally that's what you're seeing on wire, or if it's something else. But anyway, I'm getting into the weeds, and you saw how it performed. You get an idea what it's up against with this wire here. It's got a lot going on, so it handled it really well. Let's cut a little paper. We got a little schmutz. That's going to be challenging, but we'll see if it feels like it's still sharp. And then, of course, look at that. Of course, there may be a little tear there, and that could be just because it's not clean. Woo! It's going through good. So yeah, this really coming in out of this test, it seems like it's performing better than the Chavez did going into the test. And again, I got to tell you that it's not the Chavez knife necessarily that is the issue. It's because I did have some people kind of questioning the knife, and I really still think it's a great knife. I think I may very well be me, in part at least. Could be the knife. Maybe it's soft. I don't know, but I haven't heard of Chavez being soft, and I certainly don't want to start any kind of rumors or get anybody excited because, like I say, I really don't know what I'm doing here, and I am not the guy to go to for the professional reviews on that stuff. I would go to somebody with much more experience to let you know on that stuff. But we'll get back into that later. But anyway, 30 minutes. We're pretty much done with this guy. The not done, because we're going to do the sharpening, and then we'll do the wrap up, and we'll start with the next knife coming up pretty soon. But thanks, guys, for putting up with all the rambling, putting up with me learning what I'm doing, and just trying to figure this whole thing out. And so you guys are awesome. I really appreciate you. And enough talking. Thanks for watching, as always, and I'll see you on the next one.